Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 33 days away from its official release by Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as J.J. Abrams and creator George Lucas, that is all set and ready to end the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans out there are very concerned about is, of course, exactly how J.J. and George plan to really end the film, and of course the entire Skywalker saga, and exactly how ambiguous the ending really is going to be, and exactly how much clarity we're going to get about the very ending of this massive saga that started back in 1977. In case you guys did not forget, in case you guys actually missed it, there was a actual statement by J.J. Abrams over at D23 and Star Wars Celebration that the ending will of course include some ambiguity, as well as a lot of clarity and a lot of different, transparencies on specific characters' motives at the very ending of Episode 9. Now, on top of all of this, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the big plans by Disney and Lucasfilm involving one of the major scenes at the very end of the third act of Episode 9, this is where things begin to get very worrisome, and at the same exact time, very intriguing as well. Now, specifically, what's really interesting about this is that it's explained that Disney and Lucasfilm are currently putting together pieces of the film's second and third acts together, as they are currently in a phase of adjusting the film's plot, with George Lucas adjusting and resetting many of the scenes in the film. It's described that they are currently also working on the ending of the film, where the film's final scene is described to be moving along rather smoothly. However, they are reworking and working around the clock to get everything done correctly before the premiere and before the release date of the movie. It's explained that George Lucas and J.J. Abrams are using pieces of the three existing scenes and are meshing them together into the final scene of Episode 9, where it's explained that one of the sequences from the second ending of the film, of the three remaining endings that are being used as a piece of the finalized ending, has to do with actor Mark Hamill and his portrayal of Luke Skywalker. It's described that one of the shots in the upcoming film during the end of the third act is said to include Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost on Tatooine, standing next to R2-D2, where he is said to guide Rey to developing her very own lightsaber by using the pieces of Anakin's saber and Leia's lightsaber and combining them into one new hilt. It's explained that Luke's Force Ghost at the very end of the film is said to guide Rey to building her very own lightsaber, and that Luke's Force Ghost is the answer as to how Rey has the knowledge to build her very own saber design. It's explained that part of the scene was directed by George Lucas already. However, that part by George Lucas that he directed was cut featuring a new Jedi temple that is on the world of Tatooine, and that they are using a piece of that scene by J.J. Abrams of Luke's Force Ghost guiding Rey to build her own lightsaber. It's explained that Leia's Force Ghost is said to also be involved with the construction of Rey's new saber design, and that Rey's new Jedi Order at the very end of the film is said to be very ambiguous. Aside from this, Disney and Lucasfilm are also using another piece of the second ending for the final ending by combining it, of course, with a piece of the third ending of the film that features Rey approaching the world of Tatooine inside of Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, where she is said to be leading a couple of other starships, where our other heroes are described to be following Rey to Tatooine. At this point in time, this actually takes place after Palpatine's defeat and after the new Sith Empire has been destroyed by the Resistance. Eventually, it's established that Rey and her crew land their ships on Tatooine and are said to choose this planet as their new place to settle. The scenery for this segment was shot at both Cardington and Pinewood Studios over in the UK, and that Lucasfilm is currently working on a segment of the scene in post-production. It's unclear if Disney and Lucasfilm are keeping the Rey Skywalker ending, where she adopts the name Skywalker, or if that segment of one of the three endings are actually being cut as well. However, one vital shot that they will include is said to involve all of our heroes looking out to a binary sunset, as Luke and Leia's Force Ghosts, as well as others, watch over them. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, to me, I'm not quite sure how I feel about them combining the three different endings into one massive ending for Episode 9. It really seems like that Tatooine was always the main focus for the final frames of the movie. It feels like that's a given by Disney and Lucasfilm, the fact that they want to end it all where it really started, with Anakin Skywalker, right? So the fact that they are focusing on that, I think, is respectful to the Star Wars franchise, but what I'm not really all for is how they're combining elements of all three existing ending scenes that are actually currently the last three remaining ending scenes that they're currently testing with. They're using scenes, little segments here and there, switching things around and combining them all into one big ending. So it's kind of like, imagine this, alright? Disney Lucasfilm, yes, they have three endings that they are testing with, then the previous 6, alright? They dwindled it down to 3, and now they're taking a shot here, a shot there, etc., from, you know, the ending, you know, of this one and that ending as well, and throwing it into one big scene for the very, you know, final scene of episode 9. Now, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, because I feel like that the consistency might be a little bit off, or maybe even the continuity of how some of the shots may look if it's on the same exact world or within the same exact environment, if you guys get what I'm saying. It's kind of like if you look at the world of Octu in the very beginning of The Last Jedi, and then if you look at the very end of The Force Awakens, the continuity, or should I say, you know, the overall look, the appearance of Octu was different. So it's all a matter if you know, if it takes place in the same environment, that's really going to matter big time as well. The other piece that I do want to go over, though, however, that really kind of stands out to me a lot here, and I think that this is going to be yet another decision by Disney and Lucasfilm that will create a divide, is how there is going to be a segment in the film where Rey's new lightsaber is only going to be built because she's destroying Anakin's and Leia's, literally being guided by Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost and ripping those sabers apart and fusing them together into one brand new hilt design. Now, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I will say that at the very minimum, Rey should actually develop her own saber the way Luke did, was by, of course, gathering, you know, scrambled pieces of lightsaber parts, you know, and just combining them into her very own design, instead of just literally, you know, using the saber designs that many fans love and adore, and of course, one of which that's going to be a brand new one, to Leia's legacy, only for it to be stripped apart immediately. Just not quite sure how I feel about that. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the context is going to be and exactly how it's going to look like on the big screen, you know, what the visual effects are going to look like. Again, that's actually said to be how she puts the saber together, is by Luke Skywalker's guidance as well as Leia's as Force Ghosts, and by using the Force. So this will be the first time in Star Wars film history that we will actually see a saber being built piece by piece. Now sure, we technically got this in the Return of the Jedi deleted scene for Luke inside of the cave on Tatooine, but mind you, that was only him tweaking the design with that little tool that he had, and pretty much, you know, just tweaking the innards of his lightsaber, the green one. This, however, is a full-on, you know, assembly of Rey actually putting the pieces together through the Force of both, you know, Luke and Leia's Force Ghost telling her exactly what to do. And it's not just that, the fact that they are using a segment from the second ending as well and combining it with the third part of the ending is by Rey using Luke Skywalker's X-Wing to travel to the world of Tatooine, where she lands the X-Wing on that world along with our other heroes. Most likely this alludes to Poe, Finn, Chewbacca, 3PO, D-O, and even Janna, and maybe even Lando Calrissian if he makes it out alive. And let me tell you, I really do hope that Lando, or at least one of these legacy characters, makes it out alive in the sequel trilogy. This way they can actually have some kind of a story in the new expanded universe that Disney plans to launch in 2020. What do I mean by the new EU? Basically, they're starting up tons of books, novels, comics, video games that's going to extend everything after the events of Episode 9, showing us the lives of those who survived after the rise of Skywalker. And I think that's going to be a very interesting tale as long as the ending is good. And so far, it just sounds like that the ending of this movie is a bit risky when it comes to Disney and Lucasfilm, using a scene here from the first ending, using a scene there from the second, and so on and so forth with the third one, and just combining it into one big ending. Not quite sure how I really feel about that. I'm not quite sure how confident Disney and Lucasfilm are in that decision, but it seems like that they just have to wing it this time with the Rise of Skywalker, and sometimes, you know, when you just have to wing it, it's not the best thing to do. They probably would have been better off by delaying this thing until, let's say, for example, May of 2020, if you guys really wanted the truth, in my opinion. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video. video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.